Just before I begin, here's a quick view of the little test loop I've set up for today's video. As usual, it's fundamentally my KATO M1 set, but for a bit of variety I've added both my Unitrack 20203 turnouts, so I have a couple of little parking branches to play with. This will give me a chance to switch out the running of two locomotives on the one track. And now, on to the main feature. So how do I find myself the lucky owner of yet another excellent KATO Japanese diesel loco, especially when I've been pleading poverty and saying that my planned layout will be a budget endeavour? Well, as I mentioned in my last video, while I'm hopeless at the whole eBay thing, my brother on the other hand is a bit of a demon when it comes to picking up bargains through auctions, and this is exactly what happened. In something of a surprise turn of events, instead of this episode covering the planning I've been doing for my N-gauge layout, I find myself showing off my second large locomotive acquisition. Just a couple of days after having completed my DD50 loco video, my brother emailed me to say that he'd had a chance at a very attractively priced DD51 on eBay. And naturally, it didn't take much arm twisting for me to snap up at the chance. The main incentive for me to empty the piggy bank was this particular version of the loco was the engine of, now let's see if I can pronounce this correctly, the Hokutsosai Express Sleeping Car Train Service. And so it was exactly what I wanted for my Hokkaido themed layout. Again, let's see if I can do this right. It operated between the Ueno station in Tokyo and the Sapporo station in the northern island of Hokkaido. So it traversed some of the most beautiful geography with a climate that was warm in the summers but notably very cold in the winters. There's some fantastic photos of the actual train running through some amazingly picturesque snowy scenes which complement the train's beautifully cold blue livery. The DD51 is a real cracker, and that beautiful blue livery I mentioned is very distinctive and offers a change from what I already have on my DD50 loco. She's also a real beast of a diesel engine. I thought my DD50 was big, but the DD51 dwarfs this by quite a margin. This monster has a B2B wheel arrangement. A B2B wheel arrangement refers to the type of wheel configuration in which a loco has two bogies, each with two axles and two wheels, plus an additional two-axle floating bogie in the centre. So in all, the DD51 has 12 wheels compared to my DD50's 10. While the centre bogie has two unpowered axles, the bogies at either end of the engine are powered. This arrangement allows for such a long locomotive to navigate tighter curves, and this will be very handy considering my compact layout. Now compared to my wee steepled cab shunter, the DD50 and DD51 are putting me in the big league of freight and passenger train haulage. And indeed, it has been a great leap forward for me as I've now practically all the locomotives I need to run on the comparatively modest sized layout I have in mind. The sheer length of this loco, even without coaches, means that it would be best run on the largest of my loops, as it might struggle on any of the tighter curves I have. It won't be impossible, but it would just look very ungainly. Ironically, were I to run the DD51 in this livery as it actually runs in reality, I'd have to buy a second DD51 unit as they pulled the long sleeper trains they worked on in a tandem configuration, two engines at the front. I think I'll use a bit of poetic license here and just run one unit pulling just 2 or 3 coaches. However, this works nicely into my notion that I'd like my main line track on the outside of my layout with the tighter curves and the branch freight yard on the inside of that. As you can see here, this blue beauty is a lovely runner and fairly whizzes around my larger curve. It's a beautiful thing to see. You'll notice from the test track I've set up that I've taken the opportunity, using my newly arrived second turnout, to finagle a 2-loco tag team arrangement wherein I have 2 locos on the layout but only one can run on the loop at a time. So it's great fun taking turns to send either loco around and operating the turnouts so that this works smoothly. With one of the locos parked on a branch on the loop and the electrical circuit isolated by changing the turnout switch, I can now open the other branch's turnout, making it live and bringing the other loco on stream. You kinda have to remember exactly what turnouts are open and which are closed for this to work, which is a little tricky as I'm operating the turnouts manually. But once I have my layout a bit more organised and I have connected the KATO remote turnout switches, I will have a visual indication of what turnout is in what state, on or off. You do get into the flow of the switch operations with some practice, and you're soon shuffling the locos on and off the main loop with ease, though I can imagine just how much more complicated it will get when I start to add even more turnouts and an additional loop to the layout. But I shouldn't try to get ahead of myself here, and I'll take my layout complexity just one step at a time. At this point, excuse the pun, it's just nice to see the big locos running around the track that I actually have. The DD51 in particular is impressive to watch, and I can just imagine how much more of a spectacle it would be when I eventually add some coaches, though that'll be some time off yet, as I will have to source the correct blue coaches to match this train. And that's it for this week, I'm afraid. It's just a short video, but hopefully an interesting one. I'll leave you enjoying the majesty of my new behemoth in action. Just one more thing, I'd really be grateful if you could drop me a like and maybe subscribe to my channel if you're enjoying what you're seeing. But most of all, I'd really like some feedback, so if you could pop in a hello or whatever in the comments, that would be really fantastic. If you have any ideas or suggestions on how I can improve my little movies, I'd love to hear those as well. So thanks for watching and take care.